Have you seen this Josh Allen rookie card? Look at this. It's a rookie auto. Wow. 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 Welcome back to another edition of the house that Allen built. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
And this is episode 20. It's our recap of the Buffalo Bills' Week 12 victory over the Detroit Lions in Detroit.
On Turkey Day.
On Turkey Day. That was the Bills' second victory in Detroit in 5 days. And they are now 3-0 under Josh Allen on Thanksgiving Day in all three time slots.
And Josh Allen has more wins now than Jared Goff does in his own stadium.
This is very true.
Right? Tied?
I mean, they have what,
either
4
as
victories?
either as many wins now or just one more than the dude that plays there. But
that was a tough game. That was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, I sat there in my recliner. It was early in the morning over here on the West Coast.
9:30?
9:30. You know, I stay pretty calm. Normally, I'm like dancing and shouting, doing the shout song, for better or for worse shouting. And I was pretty calm the whole game. Now, I was a little nervous after a couple of guys went down, but we'll get into that.
And we didn't watch it at a cheerful this week. I had to work, unfortunately, but still got to follow the game. It just wasn't the same experience because I still had to obviously do my job. But still, we both got to catch the game. And
I predicted 35-24. I want to say the Bills by 11.
And I predicted 28-14. So that was I picked the right score for the Bills, but definitely didn't give the Lions enough credit. So.
No one really did. I mean, the line was 9.5-point favorites for the Bills, and the total points was 54.5, and it reached the under on both. 53.
And remember beginning of the season when I was talking about the Hard Knocks and how it was hard not to want to cheer for that team watching it, and Dan Campbell and everything. And look, I got to give the Lions credit. They came into this game on a 3-game winning streak. Every week they won. Dan Campbell had a encouraging, make you want to run through a wall speech for his team at the end in the locker room. They had a lot riding on this game. They wanted to make it 4 in a row. They wanted to, on a national stage in their hometown on Thanksgiving, which it started in Detroit. They're well aware of the history.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure Dan Campbell reminded them of it. They wanted to be what is considered one of the best teams, the Super Bowl potential pick. And look, got to give them credit. They are better than their record shows. And they came to play, and they made it. They gave the Bills really everything that they could handle.
They don't have as much of a roster as the Bills. Like, it's not as deep, but they have some good talent on there. Now, DeAndre Swift didn't do the things I would expect from the beginning of the year and what he did last year. Jamal Williams.
He's more than capable he could be a starting running back and really on any team, so... It's kind of like the situation with the Browns. You've got Chubb and you've got Hunt.
Very
it's
similar.
Similar.
It really is.
Both very much starting caliber, so they're no joke, either one of them.
But much like them, I would say, is as well as the Browns did against us, you can't really compare Jacoby Brissett and Jared Goff only because Goff had more starting time. He's a good quality quarterback. I mean, Goff played pretty well. I mean, but he really only has, St. Brown? Because Chark didn't really do much.
Yeah, St. Brown, and he fed him. Yeah, kind of St. Brown was kind of was the equivalent to Josh Allen's Diggs.
That's true. He had 9 catches on 10 targets for 122 yards.
They call him the Sun God. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God. Very much a cult favorite now in the fantasy football world.
He had 10 targets, but McKenzie had 10 targets. He led the team with 96 yards. Isaiah McKenzie, that is. He did have a score. He scored, and then Diggs. 15 targets. He only had 8 catches, but some of those were bad throws. Some of those were good coverage. He still had a touchdown. So at least we had 2 receivers. And now with McKenzie getting so many targets, maybe going into the Patriots game, he'll do what he did last year when he had his coming out party. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I definitely, hindsight's 2020. Of course, now I can easily say that I regret the prediction I made. But yeah, I wish I would have given the Lions more credit. I had a good, clearly I felt overconfident going into the game with my prediction, but I picked the right score, like I said, for the Bills. The Lions, Jared Goff is not a slouch. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He'll have a chip on his shoulder until for the rest of his career because he's upset that he got traded away. No one wants to, as a professional athlete, when you make it to that level and you're that competitive, no one wants to be told that they're not good enough. And once he was traded from the Rams to the Lions, that was him being told symbolically, or however you want to say it,
The Rams won the Super Bowl without
he's
him.
not good enough, and they did.
That is his way. He needs to prove.
He knows he got dished to a team that's viewed as less than. It's a small market. You got Stafford that wanted out of Detroit, and then they shipped Goff to Detroit, and so he does have a chip on his shoulder, and that plays nicely, really, to the city he plays for, because they have a chip on their shoulder, much like Buffalo. So anyways, long story short, it was a tough battle, and I got to give kudos to the Bills for not only pulling it out, but doing it in pretty epic fashion, and having to play in Detroit twice within, like you said, 5 days, dealing with the blizzard the first week, and having to dig, everyone out. Even once they got back to Buffalo, having to get back to their families, and having to get
And now
help.
there's an illness breakout.
And still having to deal with all that aftermath of the snowstorm, and then try to get back to a normal week to travel back for Thanksgiving. So you got to give it kudos to the whole Bills coaching staff who had the players ready. Kudos to Josh Allen for once again having another memorable moment on Thanksgiving. The Dallas game was the fumble and then the pickup to ram his way in for a first down on fourth down.
That was in 2019. That was the first year the Bills were invited to Thanksgiving in many years.
I'll never forget Tony Romo's call where he was just blown away. He was just like wow, like unbelievable.
I mean, he always had that wow factor. College, first year as a rookie when he was shaky and he had 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. But you saw those moments when he's jumping over Anthony Barr or diving into the end zone or just doing plays to will them into victory or first downs.
Yeah, it was what started to make people come up with the phrase the Josh Allen experience.
Yeah, and now they're comparing any up-and-coming quarterback, even if they have a fast start or a slow start, doesn't matter. They're comparing him to Allen. I mean, look at the other day, you sent me something where Allen was compared to Davis Mills, right? And they benched Davis Mills. But when you look at his numbers this year, on Allen's fifth year, comparing the last 3 games, it's been rough, right? 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, or whatever it was.
Turnovers. He's been turnover prone, And we don't know how, and he's never going to tell us, and unless he told us directly, we're not going to hear it from the coaching staff, we're not going to hear it from teammates, we're not going to hear it from Josh Allen. We don't know. We can't just ask him what percentage is your elbow at, because he's not going to say it.
No.
He's just going to,
And that UCL injury is more when you're doing the sidearm throws, like the Tommy John style, throwing a baseball, than it is over the top, like you do with a football conventional.
It can limit his tool, it can limit his...
Sure, but you could still put a zip on it. You saw what he did in that last play.
Yeah, and I was just, you segue perfectly to what I wanted to say next, is that, yes, Josh Allen once again had a signature moment where 23 seconds left, tied up, has to drive down to get into field goal range, and he throws an absolute bullet of a 36 yards
33
in the
or
air,
4, whatever.
30 plus yards in the air,
36.
traveled at around almost 55 miles per hour, an absolute dinger. It was microseconds from the cornerback getting his hand in front of it, and it just zipped right into Diggs' bread basket, and Diggs made a beautiful catch, got hit by multiple defenders, did a spin, got more yardage after the catch.
It was probably a more impressive catch than even throw, and that says a lot, because it was a great play.
They were showing the view, they were showing the backside view of the perspective of Allen afterwards on YouTube and on all the channels. And anyways, the view from Allen's point of view was just absolutely nuts. And so, kudos to Allen, who seemingly isn't still 100% healthy. He willed the team to a victory. Got to give kudos to also Tyler Bass for
the game-winning field goal.
Yes, and Allen did his due diligence to give Bass credit that being a kicker might be the toughest mental game in all of positions of the NFL. People can argue with me as maybe quarterback is the number one as far as you have to have mental toughness, you have to have extreme intelligence, poise. I think second to that would be an NFL field goal kicker. I mean, you could not kick the entire game, or you might get one extra point in the game and you might miss it, and then you get called out to kick a game winner, and you got to just put that behind you and go out and boot a 40-plus yard kick. It is not easy. There's a reason these guys get paid a lot, and there's a reason
they score a lot of points.
And there's a reason that kickers, they've done studies on NFL kickers. Once you get to the professional level, a lot of them are former multi-athletes. They were former quarterbacks, wide receivers, soccer players, rugby, you name it. And so, kudos to Tyler Bass for. It was close. He slid it right in through the uprights there. It was riding close to the upright.
The only reason why we even second guessed it, that it was that close.
The angle.
No, because he missed that extra point.
Yeah.
That changed the probability. 9 minutes left in the game. The Lions had a 60% chance of beating the Bills, and luckily he was able to redeem himself because it changed the strategy for the Lions when they got the ball and they're marching down the field. They're actually going, okay, if we need to, we will settle on a field goal to tie it up, and then we'll figure it out from there. They tied it up. With 23 seconds left, Allen had the ball. They're thinking, okay, yeah, he's not Mahomes, right? He didn't even need 23 seconds. It was literally the first play, so it was first down after the kickoff. Whoop! And that's all she wrote.
That is why we pay him hundreds of millions of dollars. Right there.
$53 million.
That is why, for moments like that, we pay. It's why we paid him for moments like last year in the division round. And I don't want to dig up fresh wounds, but that is why we paid him. And he came through last year too. It just didn't all come together with the whole team. But
let's talk about fresh wounds.
Yeah. All right.
So we also paid somebody else who is a 2-time Super Bowl winner, an All-Pro, a sure Hall of Famer, Von Miller. He got injured during the game. Now the defense, they had a tough ride. Goff had 240 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air. He didn't throw a pick. And like we said, St. Brown had over 120 yards receiving.
Our secondary is vulnerable. And even
namely
with Trey White
Dane
coming
Jackson.
back.
Dane Jackson's been in place, but soft coverage. If it's contested, he's missing out. And like I said, he had 7 tackles, but they were all after they caught the damn ball. If we're going to talk about a devastating injury, I mean, you got to mention the Von Miller injury. Right now, I mean, we've seen everything under the sun. I
think a lot of Bills fans at this point, the term would be laughable. Like, it's almost laughable how many injuries we've dealt with, specifically on the defensive side. I think as long as we have Josh Allen, we can kind of overcome some injuries on that side of the ball. We lost Kumaro. We haven't really seen Khalil Shakir come through yet as a rookie. We've had some guys in and out, but it's on the defensive side of the ball where we really haven't caught a break, and we have not been healthy. We haven't had our full deck of cards the entire season because we started the season without Trey White. We finally have Trey White back, but in that journey of getting Trey White back,
whack-a-mole.
It has been 100% whack-a-mole. It's been take 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We have had multiple 3-4 guys miss multiple games. We had Poyer miss multiple games. We've already don't have Hyde for seemingly the rest of the season. Maybe he could make a comeback. There's whispers.
Super Bowl would be cool.
Look, it's again not to be too much of a homer and ride the coattails of like singing the praises of the Bills, because again we gave credit to the Lions and they fought hard this week, but testament to the coaching staff of the Bills, and first and foremost it starts with McDermott, to have a team 8-3 through 11 weeks with all the injuries and quite frankly they've dealt with a lot as a team this year.
They have,
and it is impressive.
They have, and
so
I mean, as much as Allen has thrown 7 interceptions in the last 4 games, he's still putting them in position to win. He's leading the team in rushing. He had 10 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown. Singletary was second behind that, 14 carries for 72 yards.
What did he average?
5.1 yards.
Oh, he just did what he usually does, averages anywhere from 4.5 to 5 yards per carry.
And I noticed that Dorsey's, he's learning how to play call. Like, it's not as predictable. They did do a couple of those McKenzie sweeps, and they got Cook only 2 carries for 4 yards. I'm wondering if he's going to get some more in there, if they're going to sprinkle in Hines, or if he's mostly punt return and kick return. He had some nice returns. Allen is the reason why they're 8-3. Now, could they be 11-0? Honestly, they could. It's 8 points in those 3 games.
Well,
but
and with
woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Half the teams, the Lions, I think most of their losses, if not all of them, have been 1-score games.
Very close.
They're good.
They're gritty. They are a gritty team. You live, a lot of sports talking heads say this phrase, you play like your head coach. You reflect the personality of your head coach. They certainly reflect the personality of their head coach. They're tough-minded. They're gritty. They bring a lot of passion. And,
yeah. Dan Campbell's a hell of a coach. And when it comes to the Bills, they have been known by many to have the most depth. And that's being tested, especially on defense. When you lose Von Miller in the second and third quarter, you're already out Greg Rousseau. So that's both starting defensive ends. Then you've got A.J. Epinesa, who rotates in. He's a hell of a player. They've been wiped, and then Deion Dawkins goes out with a with a leg injury in the second quarter, I'd say.
Yeah, it's like you got to point to recent history. I just don't know when the last year is where we've had this many injuries.
We've been great.
On the defensive side.
2 of the last 3 years, we've been super healthy. And, I mean, our training staff has won awards. I mean, they've been recognized for how well the team's been prepared and, less soft tissue injuries.
And you say every week, it's a league where everyone deals with injuries. What's the phrase you use? It's
100% injury rate.
It's 100% injury rate, and there's truth to that. But look, there are some teams that seem to get snake bitten on any given year more than others, and we're not the only ones. Another team right now that's just as, if not more, snake bitten, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles
that's
Chargers.
Every year, though. Under Phillip Rivers, that was the epitome.
They are also just ravaged with injuries on the defensive side. And the offensive side, they've been without Mike Williams. They've been without Keenan Allen. So it's just, look, I don't want to just act like this is only the Bills' problem, but it's just based on how healthy we have been the prior 2 years. This is something that Bills fans, until, in most recent history, this is something we're not used to dealing with.
It's true.
Is a roster where you're having to just kind of piecemeal it together week after week, and then the fan base not knowing who's going to play from week to week. Checking the injury list is looking like the credits of a movie.
You know what though? With these injuries, it tests our depth. The only way we know that Damar Hamlin is a starting caliber safety is by Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer going down. No one's really talking about how they miss Hyde. Hyde's amazing. But Damar Hamlin is a very good fill-in.
He is. We do miss Hyde, but he's made it less. He's made it less noticeable being out there.
Yes, because they're not going deep over him. I mean, it might have happened a couple times his first start, but they've learned that was over Waddle, and they've been great since then.
And he's physical. He's like a heat-seeking missile.
7 tackles?
The way he eyes down and connects on his tackles. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's great. I've got that. Dane Jackson had 7 tackles. Poyer had 10 tackles. Daquan Jones and Damar Hamlin had 6 tackles. Ed Oliver had himself a day.
Let's give a round of applause to the one man that didn't get a turkey leg and should have. Ed Oliver, out of the University of Houston.
For sure. I watched him play in college. He would play against my alma mater, UCF. That sack, safety, that was a game changer. That changed a lot for that game. I mean, that changes whether you're going to go for 2, whether you're going to kick the field goal or go for the touchdown, go for it on 4th down.
Goff tripped up right where it counts, right in the paint.
That play reminded me of what the Bills should have done when they were playing the Vikings. Allen would have never fumbled the snap if it was just pitch. If it was snapped to him 5 yards deep and he loses the ball, as long as you land on it, you're fine. Losing it in a pile of 10 linemen, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I just think that is the way the Bills should have done it, because you get sacked in the end zone. You don't lose the game.
It's like last year's Tennessee Titans game. You're like, God, what could we have done? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Should we have done something different? Allen slipped. This time he, fumbled the snap, or not to have to rehash that again, but it's like he pretty much got, as was designed, he was going to get shoved once he grabbed the ball. The problem is he didn't get a good connection on the ball and still got shoved by Davis or whoever was behind him. And so he got shoved away from the ball that was going away from him that he should have had, and like the rest is history. But yeah.
All right, if we're going to speak about the positive things, Davis didn't have a bunch of drops. Now, he had 4 out of 5 receptions from his targets, but for 38 yards. So he's normally the deep guy where he might only get 3 to 4 catches, but it's for like 65 to 100 yards and a couple of scores. In this game, it was 38 yards. So I'm wondering if they're going to start testing him underneath, or if that was just a fluke. We'll see. Because Knox, who we're paying $14.5 million, he has 33 catches in 11 games. That's 3 catches a game on average, and he only had 2 catches, but only 2 targets, 15 yards. I put him in my starting lineup over Schultz, who went off. And I'm upset about that.
Well,
but hopefully he bounces
fantasy
back.
Football aside, it's upsetting that, yes, A, we're paying him a lot of money, and yes, B, we should see a lot more games like we saw last week where he gets more
7 for 70
some yards a game with maybe a touchdown sprinkled in there. So not just speaking of fantasy wishes, but just in general, I do think that Dorsey, and look, Dorsey is learning. It's kind of like, just like we hope that our team gets healthy at the perfect time leading into the playoffs. Like this next month is crucial, and we're hoping that we can finally get the pieces together health wise. Allen gets 100%, Vaughn gets 100%. Well, same thing with Dorsey. He's not 100% yet as an offensive coordinator. He's building that up. He's adding fuel to the tank. He's learning things every week. And hopefully he hits his stride too come December, January, and maybe then we'll be firing on all cylinders when it counts.
Last year, we went on a tear to finish the season, if you remember, when we won 47-17 over the Patriots.
It was beautiful.
2 games in a row against them.
Ryan Fitzpatrick shirtless, just in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
He's going to be there for the broadcast on Thursday.
I saw that.
Pre and
That's
post
freaking
game.
awesome. He's going to interview Allen.
The Bills play again on Thursday, this time Thursday Night Football rather than on Thanksgiving. And it's against the Patriots at Gillette Stadium. And we'll get into that in episode 21.
Would you say that Josh Allen owns Gillette Stadium now since he does the promoting for Gillette now?
The commercials?
I would say he kind of owns Gillette now.
I do think that's kind of
They are paying him.
I know.
Gillette's paying him, so I don't know about that.
So both the Bills and the Lions were good on third down. The Bills are one of the best. Actually, I think they're the best in the league on third down conversions. They were 7 of 12. And the best part is that they had one fumble, but it was recovered by the Bills, so they had no turnovers by fumbling. There was just that one tip ball for an interception. And the Lions were 6 of 15. Not as good, but still not bad on third down. But what's crazy is they had 4 fumbles, 2 lost. So we punted 4 times in the game. They only punted twice because they had those 4 fumbles, and 2 of them ended up coming over to us. So we'll take it. That brings us to our defense, where finally someone made the active roster after a year of fighting back from his injury. Who would that be?
Trey White, also known as Trey Day.
In the pregame warm-ups, there's a photo of him on Twitter I saw, where he's just laying down and just looking up into the sky and taking it all in, because it was literally 1 year from his injury, and he was back. Now, he played on a limited basis. He only played 15 snaps. The pitch count will probably happen again next week, or this weekend. It's going to be this Thursday. Probably 30 snaps, and then the next week he'll probably play the full game.
And just getting through those snaps.
Yes,
and
mentally and physically.
That's the biggest thing. He didn't need the physical part. I think they've been ramping him up over the last month.
Yeah.
It's been documented. He's been getting practices in for weeks.
Yeah.
So it's huge for him mentally to know he can now do it. And even though he was on a pitch count, like you said, mental's half the game, and that was huge for him. Clearly meant a lot to him.
Yeah, Thanksgiving last year, it was a good game against the Saints. It was actually a blowout. And the ratings were pretty good last year, but this year set a record. So, it was the most watched Thanksgiving game in its slot in 25 years. Yeah, a long time.
It was so the Bills played on Thanksgiving for the 3rd time in 4 years, and now Josh Allen set a Thanksgiving record for being the first quarterback in NFL history to win in all 3 time slots, morning, afternoon, and evening for Thanksgiving. So,
yeah, this year was the morning. Last year, I want to say, was the evening? I don't remember.
Last year was the evening.
And then midday was the 2019 game.
Was the Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, hey, kudos to the Bills. It doesn't matter how you win. It doesn't have to be pretty. A win is a win. Look at Philly's wins. Some of those were not pretty.
No one's going to apologize for trying to get the number 1 seed or winning the division. There's no style points when you wear that T-shirt at the end of it. So
no, 28-25 doesn't matter. We won by 3. Sure, we didn't cover. We didn't do the blowout like most people expected, but we won. And thanks to Ed Oliver, someone like Matt Milano, who's playing at an all-pro level again.
We would be. Remember what I was saying before the podcast?
He's the glue.
He's the glue that holds everything together, and we'd be screwed if we lost him, especially with Edmonds out.
Yeah.
If we lost him, because he is all over the place. He is. You want to talk about a heat-seeking missile as a linebacker? He is just. He knows how to. He's got eyes in the back of his head, and he knows where to be at the right time, right spot. He's unbelievable.
He's jacked. He's a former safety. He's quick. So he's nimble. Like he can do great on run defense and passing. As much as we've missed Edmonds in the middle, because they really do attack.
Oh yeah, and make no mistake. This is no discredit to Edmonds. We sorely missed him this week.
It was nice to have Klein back, though. I mean, they grabbed him off of the streets, I believe.
I like
think he
him.
just got
He's got
Every play, I
good
think he was
football
out there.
sense. I just feel like watching him, and to be able to, even though he's already played with us, for any athlete at that level to just pop back in, even if you already know the scheme. He's got a good awareness about him, and you can tell that he's the kind of a guy that McDermott likes.
He's aggressive. He's fundamentally sound. He's not like the most athletic person in the world, but he's going to be there. Now, his number used to be 54, and now it's 52 because that is taken by our rookie linebacker. I forget his name. Doesn't matter.
I forgot it, too.
he may end up being one of our starters someday, but right now he's a special teamer. Yeah, we talked about Dane Jackson, Damar Hamlin. You know, our defense... they held Jamal Williams 18 carries for 36 yards. That's not going to cut it. And Swift had 5 carries for 19 yards. Our run defense, I think, is getting much better. They're back to actually tackling a little better. Hopefully it can keep improving.
Yeah, it's our pass defense right now. That's the biggest concern.
Yeah, and that's mostly because inexperience and because we've got so many starters banged up. Hopefully that changes this week. I noticed that there were 8 guys that had an illness, and they're all back now. There's only one guy that was out from injury.
Yeah, because as if all the injuries aren't bad enough, we got to have a virus sweeping. Through half the locker room.
Luckily, it didn't take over the whole team. But there is another thing for sad news. Christian Benford went on IR with an oblique injury, so he's out at least 4 games, maybe the remainder of the year. On a positive note, Tyler Bass did kick the game winner. He was 2 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 3 on extra points. 105 consecutive extra points, and then he missed one.
Yeah.
Ha!
That's the way it goes. The old broadcaster jinx.
I know, but he's so reliable. The guy is so good.
And it wouldn't have been a turkey day for Bills Mafia if there wasn't some stress, just gritting your teeth and clenching your fists and just kind of just waiting to see that last kick go through to win the game. And to have the celebration once the stress was over and you see it go through, and the relief as you see the refs put their hands up in the air. Bills Mafia, I'm sure it was a beautiful way to cap off day with family and eating great food. And
that's just it. As much as it's satisfying to have the Bills blow out the Steelers or win 38-3, and you see Allen with his hat at the end of the third quarter, you're like, oh man, what could his numbers be? That's another thing. Josh Allen has 5,000 less yards with only 1 less start than Mahomes. But Mahomes has been surrounded by talent the whole time. I mean, he's had Kelsey, Hill, Hunt. He's had so many of these running backs and receivers around him. He's had Reed, who's known how to coach, where McDermott, who's been a coordinator, had to learn how to be a head coach, make the proper calls and time management.
Yeah, he was put in a situation to succeed sooner.
Plug and play.
Yeah, but still got to give the man his
absolutely.
His due.
Mahomes is fantastic. Right now, KC is the new Super Bowl favorites. Not by much. I mean, the Bills are number 2 behind it. There's plus 400 for KC and plus 450 for the Bills.
It's still, Mahomes is still 1A and Allen is 1B.
He makes me nervous because we could win out, but they likely will too. Their biggest matchup, the Chiefs have to play the Bengals this weekend, who had their number last year and went to the Super Bowl because they beat the Chiefs twice. This weekend is super important, not only for the Bills and the division, but KC, if they're going to lose, if you look at their schedule, this is the week to do it. And if we want that number 1 seed, that's the only way it's going to happen. We obviously have to win our division first. We still have 4 games in the division, and we've got 3 back-to-back-to-back.
The old Sal Capaccio. Sal Capaccio. Sal Capaccio. Sal. He was saying those exact things on WGR. He was talking about how important it is to get this win this weekend or this Thursday, and just talking exactly about what you just said. If there's one week, one team, you got the Bengals playing hot. They're beating really good teams. They're going on the road beating good teams. They've played probably some of the best football in the entire National Football League over the last month. And so what better way, if they could get a win against our nemesis and then they lose to the Bengals, that would be a sweet, sweet thing for Bills Mafia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we look at the playoff brackets, it's crazy how similar it is to last year. So you've got the Ravens, right? They're probably going to make the playoffs. You've got the Titans. They're likely going to make the playoffs. You've got the Chiefs and the Bills, probably the 1 and 2 seed. and then everyone else fighting for it. Now the Dolphins are the surprise, and they could take the division still. So we need to beat them in order to go 1-1 against them, and then the tiebreaker would be the rest of the division and head-to-head matchup. So it's crucial.
And don't forget, we were 7-6 at one point last year. We're in better position despite having way more injuries this year than last year.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to dig ourselves out. 7-6. You're flirting with 500 there.
They brought back. Let's go over some of the names. They brought back Jordan Phillips. They brought back Shaq Lawson. They brought back John Brown. Now they brought back Dean Marlowe. And what John Brown said when he got picked up from the airport is he had to remind himself he wasn't going home because he felt at home already in Buffalo. He thought he was going to go to his old house where he was. So it's nice to be back. He said he feels like family. Josh Allen reiterated that. And anyone who comes here feels that way. So maybe that can persuade future free agents or maybe someone coming off an injury to sign with us. But you know what? Maybe they end up in Dallas. Maybe they end up somewhere else. Who cares? The point is, the guys that are here are family. They love each other. They respect each other. And these receivers have Josh Allen's trust, which is important. So now once Allen gets a little more comfortable, a little healthier, he's going to be lasering it in there for those final plays, hopefully in victories.
Hey, if you're going to be beating yourself up on a weekly basis and going to battle like that as a team and dealing with injuries and dealing with all the ups and downs, and certainly we've had our fair share and every team does, you're going to, at least when you're doing it, you better, love the man next to you and want to go to battle for them and have that camaraderie, or else it's going to be a long season. So.
I think some of that's the reason why Matt Milano re-signed at a discount for the Bills, because rather than chasing the money and going to potentially a team that is terrible every year, you stick with the team that there's structure, familiarity, camaraderie. That's all important. You got someone that goes and chases money and then they're a bust, like Le'Veon Bell after that. Now he's a boxer. It's like you just be smart, play smart, and you'll be in the league longer, and that money will even itself out. I feel like this team is made to win. The favorites are Casey and the Bills, like last year, and right behind them is San Francisco, Philly, and Dallas. So not much has changed. As much as everything changes every year and there's a bunch of parity in the NFL, we need to take care of our own business and then focus on getting to the playoffs and then likely having to beat the Chiefs again. So I don't want the cart to get ahead of the horse.
Yeah, we got a very big, important month coming up here. So
for sure. So that's our Week 12 recap, episode 20. Let's get into a quick little fire off some opinions on some of these other games. How about it?
I'm ready.
All right. So
you know what? Real quick.
Yeah.
We didn't take a victory shot for Victory Thanksgiving.
Okay. Well,
it's Victory Turkey Day.
These are the shots we normally take, right? Greg decided we've reached the third quarter of the season. Actually, I think we're almost to the fourth quarter, and you want to do a double shot.
Look, I just got these at the convenience store, and they only had one size.
Well, ignite the night. Fireball for Fireball. Quarterback
Yes,
Josh Allen.
Here's to Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills of Orchard Park, New York. I hope you and yours had a wonderful Thanksgiving with friends and family, celebrating, being together, eating good meals, having good beverages, and watching the Buffalo Bills pull off an epic win.
Yeah, all right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, a little extra cinnamon. Yeah, put that on your waffles and eat it.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Okay, so let's recap the rest of the league for Week 12. The Buffalo Bills obviously beat the Lions 28-25. That was a squeaker. But the Minnesota Vikings beat New England Patriots. It was a close game. It came down to a couple controversial calls and a touchdown being called back. But the Vikings did end up beating New England.
And Justin Jefferson was on fire.
He really is. And Kirk Cousins is still one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league for sure. And good thing he's got some talent around him. Between Dalvin Cook and Jefferson alone, I think they could just win every game, and most games.
I wouldn't say he's underrated. He's more than a game manager, but less than a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know where you put him in between there in that void.
I put him in good but boring. Next,
That's a good description.
Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans, the Titans are one of the most physical teams, if not the most physical team, and they held King Henry in check. And even without Jamar Chase, the Bengals got their victory.
Yeah, don't look now, but the Bengals might be one of the best AFC teams in the last month.
Yeah, they're the only one from the Super Bowl last year who will likely be back in the playoffs. Then you've got the New York Jets led by Mike White beating the Justin Fields-less Chicago Bears 31-10. Mike White had over 300 yards and I think 3 touchdowns, and Trevor Siemian did not fill in very well for Justin Fields.
You could say he was white hot.
Sure. Yes. And Carolina in a barn burner, the Panthers beat the Broncos, and Russell Wilson, whose own defensive teammates want to ride him out of the city.
Let's ride off the mountain.
Oh, man. And then the Chargers finally win a close game in a squeaker 25-24 against the Arizona Cardinals. What do you think about that?
Well, the head coach of the Chargers has been on the wrong side of a lot of these, so it's good to see him be on the right side.
Yep. And the Rams got beat down by the Chiefs 26-10. The Chiefs were 15.5-point favorites. They covered the over-under by 16, so by half a point.
Rams tried to make it interesting in the second half, and it was for a fleeting moment, but it was fleeting.
Yes, Kelsey is just dominant. He's one of the best tight ends to ever play. Mahomes is obviously playing at MVP caliber. There's a reason why he's a favorite right now. Again,
you could say that the Mahomes to Kelsey connection is even more potent than
Brady and Gronk.
Yes.
Yep, it could be. And the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants 28-20. That was a very good game. The Cowboys are for real. They've got a lot of talent around them, and they are much better with Dak when Dak is healthy. Now, apparently, Odell Beckham's going to be visiting both of those teams this week, and then he visits the Bills like December 5th or something. But who the heck cares? Right now, we'll focus on the rest of these games and our Buffalo Bills. But the Browns, who were very physical against the Bills, and a lot of people are like, oh, you barely beat the Browns. The Browns are good. And, Jacoby Brissett, who played his final game for the Browns probably, at least as a starter, because he's got to take a back seat to Deshaun Watson, who's finally back for Week 13. He's got to go in. The Browns will then play the Texans, but they beat down on the Bucs and beat them 23-17.
Jacoby Brissett more than I think exceeded a lot of expectations that were set, and he deserves kudos for what he's done for that team.
Absolutely. And the Miami Dolphins, who went up 30-0 at halftime against the Houston Texans, ended up benching Tua after him getting a little banged up, and they just wanted to play it safe. And Houston shut out Miami in the second half. It made it interesting by scoring 15, but they couldn't keep up. Final score 30-15. Miami wins. Houston goes to 1-9-1. The Commanders beat the Atlanta Falcons 19-13, and Heineke wins again.
Don't look now, but the Commanders are on a roll.
And Brian Robinson is a stud of a rookie. He's been through a lot of adversity, and it's good to see him succeed and do so well on a team that has a chance to make the playoffs.
Gotta love a comeback story.
For sure. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Trevor Lawrence, who finally maybe lived up to his potential and came through in the clutch to win 28-27. Baltimore, they could let them stay in that game, and that final decision to go for 2 to avoid overtime was apparently the right call.
John Harbaugh is not a happy camper.
No, but Doug Peterson is a hell of a coach, and I felt like when Philly lost him or got rid of him, that was a mistake. Either way, they're doing well. Whether you want to punch their new head coach in the face or not, he does have a punchable face.
It's the Jaguar special this year.
Yeah, yep, for sure. They did it to us last year. They
The
did it to
Jaxie,
Baltimore.
instead of the Philly special, it's the Jaxie special.
Jaxie. And Seattle, as well as they've been playing this year, and as good as Geno Smith has had for a revelation of a season, the Las Vegas Raiders finally lived up to their potential and beat Seattle 40-34. That game had 74 points scored, and Josh Jacobs.
What's worse, giving up a huge pass play in overtime to lose it, or a huge run play like that?
86-yard run right up the middle.
I'd
worse. Say that's a dagger.
That's tough.
That's tough. But Jacobs is having a hell of a season, and he helped me win. I am 9-3 in fantasy, and thank you very much. Next, we had San Francisco 49ers, who are loaded. And, they started the season rough with losing Trey Lance. And I was at the Chicago game where he got hurt. And the Bears won that game. And you see the Bears are kind of struggling right now. And San Francisco, with the CMC trade, is back on track. Now, you stored Elijah Mitchell on your IR until he came back. He's back, and then he gets hurt again. He's out for the rest of the year. CMC's a little banged up.
Turns out both his knees are made of glass.
Yes, that's true. They shut out the Saints, who have a good defense, 13-0. And the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Jeff Saturday-led Indianapolis Colts 24-17. That could have gone into overtime, but perhaps clock management. Instead of taking their timeouts when they had 3 left with a minute and a half to go, Saturday sat on 2 of them. And sometimes a timeout isn't about clock management. It's about resetting, figuring out what plays best, giving your offense a break, and then collecting yourselves to make the best decision to win. And that didn't happen.
Turns out being a high school football coach doesn't qualify you to coach an NFL team.
Nope. I still think that it's good to try something a little unconventional. Now, it sucks for all those guys that are following through.
Well, Jim Irsay is definitely unconventional.
Up the ranks.
That's one way to put it.
But Mike Tomlin is a hell of a coach, and he gets the victory. Moral or not, that is a victory. And you know who looked pretty good? Their new young quarterback.
Kenny Pickett?
Kenny Pickett. Yep.
Pickett to Pickens.
Pickett to Pickens. Pickens looks like a stud, man. Another one-handed catch. That guy catches everything thrown at him, really, of just about everything. And the last game we'll talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles, who remain the best team in the league record-wise. I think they're now, 10-1?
10-1.
And they beat the Green Bay Packers 40-33, but not by much. Aaron Rodgers was actually doing very well, and I want to say they had the lead at one point. He got banged up. He hurt his abdomen. He went out for the rest of the game. Jordan Love came in, actually had better numbers. They came close, but they fell short by a touchdown. And
Eagles have, I could say, the best offensive line in the league. Jalen Hurts is playing smart, effective football.
With A.J. Brown, and you've got running backs like Miles Sanders and Gainwell, and some of these other guys are throwing in there that are doing well, and Fletcher Cox on defense.
Yep, new pieces added on defense via pickups off the street. So.
Yep, Ndamukong Suh, is that who you're talking about? And that is our recap for the NFL's Week 12 lineup. We are going to be covering the Buffalo Bills at the Patriots in episode 21. That'll be coming up next. Let's go over our cards real quick. I have a Josh Allen card here, of course. This is the 2021 Panini Black Football Josh Allen, and it is force field with a beautiful, electricity lightning bolts with a green color. And I believe you have the 2022 version of Force Field.
Yep, 2022 Black Force Field Josh Allen. Again, it's got some pretty awesome graphics.
Yeah, look at that thing just.
This isn't how they made your father's trading cards.
Oh no. And of course, I put them in one touch, and I put them in plastic to make sure they don't scratch. So that's our collection of the 2021 and 2022 Josh Allen Force Field by Panini. This has been the Buffalo Bills podcast of the House That Allen Built, episode 20. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
We will see you next week.
Let's go,
Buffalo!
Yes, we are recording. I gotta mute this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get ready to rumble!
Mic drop.
In the dark corner, wearing blue shorts and a red bandana, standing at 6 foot tall, 187 pounds, Gregory Scott Vollmer.
187?
175.
Oh, damn. I was giving you 12 pounds?
Last time I weighed 187 was back Thanksgiving when You were still living at your old apartment.
Mm-hmm. You realize I'm 50 pounds heavier than you? 50! Jesus. And you know what? We have the same height. You probably have a reach of probably 5 more inches than me. I don't know. But I'm 5 more inches in the pants. What are you doing, you klutz? You couldn't even catch a cold. Oh, Chelsea did get a coffee. I didn't realize. Maybe she got that today. I think she did. Some coffee. Oh.
You want some coffee?
Do you need some coffee in your life? Huh, Johnny? This is episode 20. Can you even see my antlers? There we go. I'm going to show my taco meat today.
There you go.
Well, yours comes all the way up to here, though.
Some Taco Bell meat.
Taco Bell. Here we go. It's a warm-up.
Just when you thought. Just when you thought. I can't do it.
Coming to your screen this Thursday.
I don't have the low enough voice.
Try it.
Just when you thought.
Just when you thought.
Just when you thought.
Is that as low as you can go? As low as you can go.
Just as you thought.
It's not bad. Try to do a full sentence.
Coming to a screen near you. Just as you thought. I can't. It's just the
coming to theaters this Friday.
Coming to theaters this Friday. You can't do it.
Greg's puberty.
Yeah. All right.
Right? Goose fraba? Mm-hmm. Are you even saying that right? I don't even know.
Yeah, goose fraba.
Okay, you're not f***ing it up like you do every other thing you pronounce.
Goose fraba.
Okay. All right, so.
Smoking a pancake, bong in a blitz, cigar and a flapjack, cigar and a waffle, smoking a pancake.
Is this a reference?
It's a movie reference.
God dang it. You do it every week. What is this one?
I love gold. Austin Powers, Golden Member.
Okay. Well, that
Gold
was a
member.
terrible accent. Okay. Bills over the Lions, 28-25. Bass hit a late game-winning field goal. The Bills get their second victory in 5 days in Detroit on Thanksgiving. It was the highest-rated Thanksgiving Day game in 20 to 25 years. The Bills played on Thanksgiving for the third time in 4 years and have completed all 3 time slots. 3-0. Lions had a 60% chance of winning with 9 minutes left in the game, but the Bills pulled through.
If we could get a win against our nemesis and they go down, it would. He's very much a cult favorite now in the fantasy football world.
A cult favorite,
yeah.
Get it? Actually, no, he's a lion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.